Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by Generals Joe's Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force Weekly.
Yes, it is. We've... Sorry, full disclosure, Pat and I have just been talking off camera for ages. Like, we got on a bit earlier and we're talking to each other and everything, and I just forgot that it was like, we actually got a show to do, haven't we, mate? Yeah, so brilliant. We're back in it. How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right, yeah. Not a whole lot of G.I. Joe news this week, so that does mean that we will go long.
Happy Ojo June. Yeah, we're going to be going very long. What, 2 stories we're going to cover? One of the stories, though, is a bit extensive. There's lots of things to break down inside it. But yeah, we are in Yojo June. Hello to everybody joining us this morning. We had a lot of comments already before I even started this on the YouTube stream, because that does like a little preview that Facebook doesn't. But hello, everybody. There's a lot of you, so I'll just say hello, everybody, because it'll take me ages to get through everyone. Hope everyone is having a good time. And like I said, as we go through, I'll be highlighting a few of your comments, including this one from lovely Mum. Hello, everyone. Hi, Mum. 2 hearts, Pat. 1 for you, 1 for me.
Hello.
Okay. Sorry, Mum gets the privileges on the show. Like, she'll get the comments every time. Right then, guys. Let's get stuck into the first news story then, I guess, and that is in Fortnite Snake Eyes news.
The first images have emerged of the Hasbro Fortnite X G.I. Joe 0-point Snake Eyes figure in hand. The images were posted by G.I. Joe Classified on Instagram and showed the cool split packaging style that we previously saw with the Snake Supreme Cobra Commander box. The figure is clearly a straight repaint of the deluxe and then later retail Snake Eyes, which is also getting another release with Timber very soon. The weapons and accessories are laid out around the figure in the plastic shell, and the packaging comes with a slipcover with the figure design on the front. Expect this one to show up very soon if you ordered one back in the Cretaceous period.
Lols. So couldn't help myself. A little dig at the amount of time that this figure has taken to hit market. Now, we've talked about this in the past, Pat, already, but obviously this is now the figure kind of in hand, packaging and all that kind of stuff. Any changes, any thoughts since it's kind of been revealed?
It's I didn't have a ton of excitement for this figure whenever it was first revealed, and that really hasn't changed. It's kind of the same Snake Eyes figure again, and I don't play Fortnite, so the accessories that are included I think are great for somebody who does and enjoys that. But it's nice that it'll go along with other Fortnite figures. But at this point, that kind of feels like its main purpose is to supplement those rather than my G.I. Joe collection, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. Totally understand. I think one of the reasons for me was just the fact that, it's the same figure completely. I think when the renders popped up, I was intrigued at least in whether there'd be any like changes in tooling, if there'd have been like some additional kind of, elements on the actual figure itself. And it doesn't seem like there's been any new tooling whatsoever, other than the accessories, of course. So to me, it feels like, well, we've got the deluxe version. We have the retail version, actually 2 versions of the retail version, if you count the removal of the red dot and a slight packaging variation. And so that, you at a stretch, you're talking 3 figures there. Then you got this one, 4. Then you've got Timber, the Snake Eyes coming with Timber again. So that's like 5 of this figure already. And there's hardly any variation in the deco. Do you know what I mean? It's like very, very minimal variation. And that to me, I think, is what is like the most kind of like disappointing aspect, is that, yeah, I expect multiple Snake Eyes versions, but you've got this option then to do like, like the Dead Game color variants to keep that topical. You've got like the red, you've got the all white, all white. You've got the all, I think it was like there was other variants in that comic as well. But like you've got lots of different options to really go somewhere with that figure mold, and we just kind of get a slight variation on the next one, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't have Snake Eyes represented in Fortnite looking very different than what we know him. It's not like Snake Eyes is going to be wearing his red outfit, or
yeah.
I think that it would be neat if we would have gotten one of these maybe in that gray and purple from the Joe versus Cobra era, or some other color or something really to make things feel like this is something fresh and new on a familiar mold. But the fact that all of them have just kind of been in black has made this not that exciting. And I think it's safe to say that, you know, this figure is not going to be the last time we see Snake Eyes or the Timber. You know, there will be future Snake Eyes figures. So at this point, I think that just moving into the future, I'm looking to moving on from this design a little more.
Well, the funny thing, I will actually say, I love the design of the Snake Eyes. I think it's a really cool figure. I think where it's suffered is this repetitive use of it without enough variation. That's all I think on that particular front. In terms of the because obviously if you look, I mean, the Timber version does have a little bit of has a lot of green in the pants, I believe, doesn't it? But in terms of real variation, it is very similar each time. And yeah, I think that's my only gripe really about it, because obviously the figure itself is gorgeous.
But even if at this point, even if we moved on to a new color, I would almost rather move into a new tooling of Snake Eyes that could then have a black version in the future. Like,
no, that makes sense.
Just at this point, I'm done with this sculpt.
I get what
I feel like. I mean,
no, you're right.
Like the legs out, or change the arms out, or change something.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Like I said, I love the figure design, but you're right. We've already got 5 of them now, so we're good. We don't need to come back to this one again. Mom's put 4 hearts now, so that's 2 for each of us, I think, or maybe just 4 for you, Pat.
Maybe.
We'll see. Love you, Mom, and Dad as well if you're watching. What else we got coming through? We've got people people agreeing with you, Pat. Ritz says, hi Ritz, I agree with Pat, no wow factor. Bryn says, the more I waited, the more I rethought spending so much money on it, and I cancelled my order. It looks good though, he says, and absolutely. Ed says, despite the long wait since pre-order, this figure was supposed to be released in 2022 from the start, wasn't it? So it's actually only about 6 months late. I think it's not like we're not talking 2 years. It just feels like that way, doesn't it? But yeah, it was actually, you're right. When they first revealed it, when you could pre-order it, it was a year out. So you're right. It's only 6 months late. But that I would say that delay has been made worse with the timing of the Snake Eyes and Timber reveal as well. Like it just becomes like, oh, again. But yeah, no, totally agree, Ed. You're totally right on that. 77T John says, looking forward to the fig. Exterior of the package is nice, but interior is super plain and boring. We can actually have a bit of a closer look of that as well. So this is the kind of box that it comes in, Pat, and obviously very Snake Supreme. This, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. That it reminds me of the Snake Supreme. I think, though, if this does just serve the purpose of introducing Fortnite fans to G.I. Joe, then maybe it will be doing a good job, because everything's kind of presented nicely, I think. Yeah, they could have done maybe something more with a blue background, but I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe what this is going to do is have some kids who play Fortnite introduced to another brand. That's what I'm hoping. Get G.I. Joe out there. So that to me is the plus of all of this. But honestly, I'm not really that dead set on making sure that I have this one. I have it on pre-order. If something should happen to that pre-order, I don't know how much I'm going to struggle to make sure I get one.
Are you threatening your pre-orders there, Pat?
I am threatening my pre-order. It either shows up or it's done.
If something should happen to this pre-order, it wasn't my fault. Matt O'Brien says, I don't really love this figure, but my OCD wouldn't let me go without it, lol.
See, that's what my problem is. I probably would just drop this figure, but I would sit around knowing that I have all of them but one.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Diana Davis. You get to watch this on a Saturday for once. Excellent. Hello. Hope you're doing well. You're going to get a shout out later on, so keep watching to the end if you can. Tags Media TV says, I want slice and dice, mate. Yeah, that would be cool. It'd be nice to kind of like see a few other extended ninja characters, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, for sure. I like slice and dice a lot.
Big time.
And Slash. Why not throw Slash in there too from Valor versus Venom?
Yeah, there you go. Pat always likes to throw in, you know, the kind of like the unloved, don't you? The not given enough.
To me, Slice's partner is Dice, but they did a slash and slice kind of thing, which I would imagine they were trying to do Slice and Dice at the time. But yeah, I like some of those underappreciated characters.
Slash is the third triplet. I know they're not brothers, but Slash is like the third wheel of that crew. They always take the Mickey out of him. A Punk with Toys says, this is a Fortnite figure, not a classified figure. No number on it to me means it's part of the Fortnite line. That's good thinking, A Punk with Toys, if you want to avoid it. Yeah. I obviously, the fact that it is a classified figure by design, though, is where I would struggle with that. Ed says, I always enjoyed the 2002 G.I. Joe versus Cobra Wave 1 repaint, which had him in a dark olive outfit with forest green web gear. It looked just different enough to be a fresh take. That is a good shout, Ed. I mean, my favorite Snake Eyes is one that does not follow the original color scheme of mostly black at all, and that's version 4. Obviously, let's not get into that battle, Patrick, because we'll be here all day. Highly Articulate says, could have had dead game version, Arctic, cartoon purple or blue, the green one, can't remember what he's called. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say obviously for this particular figure, I know you're not saying that, but definitely for one of the other releases from Hasbro, absolutely. I'm waiting for the classified glow-in-the-dark version. I don't think any of those things are ever going to exist, honestly, RKW1138. Maybe a Super 7. Well, they've already done it. So, yeah. Okay, right. Well, yeah, I guess let's move on. We've talked about this enough, haven't we, Pat?
Yeah, I think so.
I will, however, just skip to that and get a real good close-up of it for those who are wondering exactly what they're dealing with. But it just looks like a very, like, I don't know, almost like a lot of gloss black in there, and then the grey on the thighs and on the kind of thigh area. But that's really it, isn't it, that we're talking about? And yeah, exactly. I think that covers it really. Right then, let's move on then to the next news story, which is obviously much more in depth. And this is where Pat and I will talk for about 3 hours.
Yep, we are into Yojo June now, and on Wednesday the 1st, Emily and Lenny dropped by Instagram Live to give us a fun vintage Thunder Machine unboxing while simultaneously divulging some really important nuggets of info. First up, Emily explained that the most recent product has been coming into the US and is currently being distributed throughout the country, and if that wasn't enough good news, then what followed raised it up a notch. They revealed that they would be doing weekly G.I. Joe events throughout the month of June, the main one being next Tuesday, June the 7th. Oh, wait, sorry. Actually, that's Wednesday the 8th at 11 AM EST on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel. It will feature brand new product reveals, pre-orders, a special guest and other fun stuff as we've come to expect from these events. The main news of the stream, however, was the revelation that they will be going one step further with the reveals for the classified and O-ring lines by telling us the names of characters coming at the development phase. So not only will we be getting the figure reveals with pre-orders and digital renders, but now we get to know who news coming at an earlier stage of production. I imagine this is to combat leaks, but they did tell us that we can expect both Shipwreck and Rock and Roll in the Classified series, and that they will be revealing more of these early character spoilers throughout the month on the other streams. Now let's get ready for Tuesday. I mean Wednesday.
Lols. Right, so yeah, Yojo June has kicked off. Lenny and Emily took to Instagram Live and did a really cool unboxing of the Thunder Machine, which I thought was really fun. And what I actually found really fun about it is I haven't opened a Thunder Machine since I was a child. So the fact that I got to see that again and see like how it kind of comes to some degree. I know like it's already been opened and pilfered and then put back together again a little bit. But it was it just brought back a lot of memories for me. Like, oh yeah, I remember now, like the kind of, you know, the way it was structured inside and everything, the sprues and all that kind of jazz. So like it was fun. I thought it was a nice little kind of thing for them to do. And also while they were doing that, they were dropping some major news here. So the first thing that we'll talk about, Pat, is obviously Emily mentioned distribution is starting to happen in the United States. They're getting out, you know, basically the most recent the most recent figures starting to kind of get distributed now. Does that kind of give you a little bit of like, I don't know, a bit more joy about the situation?
Yeah, it does make me want to review where all of my pre-orders are and make sure that I have them properly in line and not overlapping, because I don't want, like, I'm expecting things to start just going in rapid succession with a lot of pre-orders hitting all together whenever you know, things finally start getting back to that normal that we're all looking for. I think that there's going to be, at some point, there's going to be a bit of catch up, and a lot of these pre-orders are going to come in. And I did double pre-order some things because it was getting a little tiresome pre-ordering from one place and seeing that fulfilled maybe 6 months later than others.
Yeah, but now none of them are fulfilling. So you've got like 20 pre-orders of the same thing, and nothing's moving. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there have been some cases where I've forgotten and ended up with multiples of things. But if I end up with 2 of an Insecticon, it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. It's fine if you're ordering like kind of like troopy builders or like troopy builders. I know an Insecticon necessarily isn't, but you know what I mean.
Well, sure. I mean, it is, but I don't need to be. I don't army build. I really don't army build at all. So I don't need to be spending, like, I'm already spending way too much money on toys as it is.
Yeah,
I don't need to start army building on top of that.
Join the club. Neil Hill says the Thunder Machine unboxing was fun. How many goofy unboxings have I watched in my life just because? Yeah, I thought it was fun, mate, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, it was nice. They would, yeah, because obviously sometimes they'll just sit there and they'll talk about like you know, the information on. They've done it before. Like they had, like, you know, they did the HasLab one on Instagram Live. They had the Sky Striker there, so that was slightly different. But to be doing something on the screen whilst delivering this information and having a laugh and enjoying themselves, I kind of, I dig that. I think that's like a nice thing to do. A lot of people were worried they're going to be busting out an actual sealed vehicle. Don't worry, guys. This thing has been opened more times than a Toys R Us. No, that's not true because they haven't really reopened. I suppose I can use that as a joke because they have kind of reopened about 16 times since they shut down. Let's excuse me. Let's also highlight this comment that I've lost now because it's zipped away. Clark says maybe they're hinting at vehicles. I don't know, actually. Like, do you think, like, in terms of classified, we're going to get a Thunder Machine, Pat?
I don't think that they're hinting on that in particular, not that vehicle in particular, but maybe they are kind of getting us into a vehicle mindset. You know, I'm sure that the things they picked, like they said, they weren't going to open anything that hadn't been opened before, because I think that everybody watching would probably just be cringing as a vintage toy was being opened. Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people would be.
They did, and they don't use like a knife or anything, or any. They just like rip it apart. They rip the box open. Could you imagine?
That'd be rough. Yeah,
that would be that would be the end of times, I think, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and then assembling it, I was a little nervous about, maybe it snapping. Some of that blue plastic can be rough, but the Thunder Machine holds together pretty well, so I wasn't terribly worried. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe they are warming us up for a vehicle. Well, I guess technically we've had vehicles with the motorcycles, but I think we're talking something larger here. What do you think? What do you think the odds are that we're getting something bigger?
I think pretty high. I mean, they can't like look past the Sky Striker HasLab success, which it was at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I mean, it was an incredible event for the GI Joe brand, because I wasn't sure. I genuinely wasn't sure it had the legs, and not just the Sky Striker, but the brand itself. And for it to kind of obliterate my expectations, I thought, well, that's great. Like, obviously it has a space, it has an audience, and it has a popularity behind it. So I think, I was kind of thinking, okay, looks like we're good then. There's no way they can then go, let's not do anything for classified, which is arguably in a much stronger position, mainly just due to the fact they've got more figures out and it's been developed for longer. But, I kind of feel like it would be weird for them not to do or not to try something classified related. Now, in terms of what that could be, I think if they're going to do a classified HasLab, it's going to be something iconic. It's going to be something practical, so probably mid-range in real terms, in terms of size. So your front runners are things like the Hiss Tank. For the Joes, maybe the Vamp, the Ore Striker, and then I say that, but then I look at, there's an Ore Striker coming out for Flame Toys, the model kit one, which is probably going to fit a classified figure. Excuse me.
or would roughly, as far as costing goes and things like that. Yeah,
exactly. You're not talking a great deal more engineering, are you, involved,
right.
or tooling size, if for that matter. So and they're costly, so HasLab would make a lot of sense for it. But that's kind of that's my thoughts on it. I don't see them doing anything HQ. I don't see them doing anything big playset. I don't see them doing anything big scale, because like super big scale, because it would be ridiculous. And I don't know, you'd be testing wallets and space that people have, wouldn't you, really?
Yeah, I think playset wise, probably I'm looking to Star Wars and seeing what they've done there. And the one that I can think of even recently that even qualifies is the Cantina bar, where you could buy 2 of that 3-pack if you wanted to get doubles of individual characters, spending an extra $100 to double your bar. But something similar to that, maybe where there'd be a backdrop with a couple of figures in front of it, like maybe a computer or something really not too large. I could see, just to kind of help give the idea of an environment. I could see that as far as a playset goes, but I could see that at
retail.
Yeah, that's not a HasLab situation.
Yeah,
I think a HasLab situation, I was even talking with a friend of mine about it yesterday, and the Hiss Tank's almost adjustable to how large they would want it to be, because you could have a tow behind with it. You could have it be a bigger project if they wanted it to be, with like an MMS or something back
there. Towing a Night Raven. Right. It'd be like Hiss Tank and the Stretch Goal Night Raven tow along. That would be hilarious, Pat. Because like the whole thing would be about the Hiss Tank, and then, oh, by the way, we're doing a Night Raven, but don't worry, it's just as a tow along, fully designed, full size, like absolutely all the detail.
That'd
hilarious.
Be so ridiculously huge.
a tow along tech Terradrome. That's stretch goal 3 at $8 trillion. No, I can see that, mate. And the other thing, I think I'd love to see them do the Hiss Tank, but I'd love to see them do it with more than just a 1-up scale, or a scale up of what we've the vintage. I would love to see like the command Hiss for once. I'd love to see like an amalgamation where you could maybe have a little bit of space for troops like the HIS-2, but then also keep the silhouette of the one, but then have double cockpit, so you could have 2 people in the cockpit, and you can have maybe like 2 or 3 turrets, like the the one that we see in Pyramids of Darkness. Just things like that I'd like to see them do, rather than just a scale up of the vintage, if that was going to happen, of course.
Yeah, no, I agree. Something maybe I think we've talked about it before. Maybe making that back end modular, or doing something with some of the original concepts for the HIS tank in order to just pack something else in there.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, the tow behinds, they could probably have an MMS or some other. I think an ASP might be a bit much to ask, because that would be large.
Bit too much to ASP.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to see anything like that, and I think you're right. I think adding that extra value into the HasLab for that would make a lot of sense. Diana, I have to highlight this comment. It was a fantastically fun live stream. Bless Lemily. I love that. But also, I like Jeremy's option of Emileni as well. I like that combination too. So fantastic. Right. As well as excuse me, as well as all that, I suppose we'd be kind of remiss not to talk about the other big news that kind of came out of this particular stream. They're going to be doing weekly events. Next week's initially they said Tuesday and then changed it to Wednesday, so that was lols. But Wednesday is actually going to be the big kind of Hasbro Pulse YouTube live stream. I'm expecting that to be the big one, and then maybe some other smaller events. What do you think about that, Pat? Or do you think they're just going to go hardcore with it all month?
No, I think that they're going to set the tone for the month and everything to expect for the month with that Wednesday stream. And then anything else will probably be a lot smaller. I would expect things more similar to what we already got here with this Instagram Live later in the month. But, for there to be some kind of reveals or teases or information of what's in the pipeline or what's in development throughout the month, along with probably, of course, pre-orders, and who knows, maybe some of those other pre-orders delivering during the month.
No, never going to happen, mate. That would actually be some nice timing, wouldn't it? If people were getting those figures like within Yojo June. Neil Hill says, got to be retro O-ring Night Raven for HasLab as like are you saying as like a foil for the Sky Striker? Would you be into that, Pat?
That's large. I love the Night Raven. I think that I would probably, if they're going to go that big, I probably would want to spend the shipping costs and the tooling costs on something else.
Well, that is O-ring he's talking about, by the way.
Right, I know he's talking O-ring.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but I mean the vintage Night Raven, those hold up fairly well. You can. It's not hard if you're going to be able to find a Night Raven. It's not terribly difficult to find one in good shape. It's not like the plastic on those is shattering or anything like that. So I'd rather see some things brought back and revitalized that are in the vintage line that are just not doing well at all. You know what? Yeah. Give us a stun. How many good old stuns are there out there?
Yeah, big time. A few people are actually commenting. Ritz says maybe the Thunder Machine unboxing was hinting at O-ring vehicles. Very likely indeed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Someone else has also said, Neil again. Sorry, I'm just getting on Neil's comments. I'm not doing it on purpose, guys. I apologize. Although I don't think the unboxing was a hint at a new HasLab vehicle. I think we are getting one for the O-ring nonetheless. Again, I think that's a very strong possibility, because obviously we've, it's the O-ring line. We've got the HasLab, but we don't have anything else at the moment. So yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Bryn Anderson says, could the unboxing vote be a secret poll to see what figures will fill the next wave? Since the Thunder Machine one, I think we'll get a Dreadnought or two in the next wave, says Bryn. What do you think, Pat?
It would be really nice to get a Dreadnought or two. I think that's something that has been, it's taking a long time to get there. I would like more of those a little faster. I definitely appreciate that Zorana is coming, though. That
Zorana!
I'm super excited about that one.
I didn't know it was you. Yeah, me too. That she looks incredible. I can't wait for that figure in hand. Ryan Sweeney says Thunder Machine for the HasLab. Just trying to get through all your comments, guys, before we move on to the next topic, which is the one we want to talk about, really. Viper Scout says, I would love a redo of the DTC hiss with a different turret with cannons. That would be kind of cool. Yeah. And again, like
hiss was nice.
Yeah, definitely.
It just occurred to me with that other comment that somebody made that we talk a lot about doing Sunbow and comic book inspired versions of the figures in the O-ring line, but what about the vehicles? Like some of that stuff probably could be a little more closer to some of the Sunbow stuff. So it'd be cool if the Thunder Machine is a hint of vehicles, and who knows what's in store.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt says HasLab classified Tomahawk would be my dream, Matt. I would love that.
Yeah,
would be an absolutely beautiful machine. We've talked about it again, like so much anyway. Robert H says, I'm still set on classified getting a vamp someday. I can't see it being a HasLab like hear people saying, but I see it happening. Yeah, you're right. I kind of feel like it probably, they could get away with it just being a retail or an exclusive or something that is like, you know, not a HasLab effectively. But yeah, Robert H, I could see them doing that. They're all like, you know, Vamp, His Tank, Ore Striker, all the classic kind of the ones that you look at and you go, that's G.I. Joe or that's Cobra. Like, you know, the iconic ones are what they're going to probably likely go for. Jeremy says Vamp makes most sense as it can be a Vamp Mark II, Stinger, and Knock Jeep repaint. Well, if you watch Pat and my and Phil's extensive assembly required mobile online rally panel about the Vamp versus the His Tank, you'll see many more versions of the Vamp on there as well. So yeah, that is like the God. Is that the Snake Eyes of the G.I. Joe vehicle world?
Probably. I think the point of making that happen sooner makes a lot of sense, because sometimes I think that whenever things are released, I know that I was waiting whenever the club was making figures, I kept on waiting on them to do a sneak peek, because it's like there are so many sneak peeks that they needed to get out.
Yeah.
That I felt like they needed to land a sneak peek like in FSS 1 or 2, and then it just took forever, and then the other ones didn't end up happening. So the point of having it make sense because of the fact that there are all these other ones that people would want, I think I agree. I think that there's like all those, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, those 4 I think are the minimum of what people would want out of the Vamp. I just think that for how big that will be of a vehicle and how much it will cost, part of the problem is I just don't think that they can release, 5 vehicles a year. So
no.
even if it doesn't take a HasLab to make something this big, I think that we just can't have them in rapid succession anyway, because they won't be that cheap. They'll be a little bit larger. So yeah, doing a Vamp very soon, I think that's a good idea.
I was really hoping that Flame Toys was just going to bust out loads of these bigger vehicles as model kits, and they were all going to fit perfectly. We don't know yet, obviously. Obviously, the motorcycles, as Dinah Davis mentioned earlier, the motorcycles are a tad small for the classified figures. It looked like when she put Duke on one of the motorcycles, it did look like Krusty the Clown on that tiny bicycle, or Homer when he does the loop and pulls his pants off by accident. One of my favorite scenes in The Simpsons, that is. Bryn says the small play sets like the Watchtower, Checkpoint Alpha, Bivouac, etc. could be doable. Yeah, definitely, but not HasLabs. I know you might not be talking HasLab there, Bryn, but yeah, I definitely could see them being like something that could happen within the retail space. And I would love that. I'd love a Checkpoint Alpha. God, Checkpoint Alpha and Law and Order, please. That would be great.
Yeah, all of those I think would be great ways of having like a small something in the background to go in a detolf case along with your figures. So they could pack that in a box just like the Cantina set is. Have that in the background and have like 2 figures in front of it.
With a little little cardboard background as well, to fill in some of it. Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Neil Hill says, sorry, now I'm getting all your comments today. I'm not doing this on purpose. I don't care how tricked out a HasLab his tank would be. I'm not paying $300 for one. I don't care how awesome it is. Same for Vamp unless classified scale. There is a point there, though, isn't there, where you're kind of looking at it like if this was at retail, you'd be paying like 80, maybe a bit more, maybe over 100 nowadays. I know it's probably a little bit more than that. So 100 and something. When a HasLab comes by, you're looking at like 300 to 600 that you're dropping like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like sometimes you do it because it's like, oh, great, yeah, I can do this. I can afford it and all these extras and stuff. But when you look at the whole thing, you kind of like, actually, yeah, if this was just a retail vehicle, I'd literally just be dropping $100 and that would be it. And it wouldn't be a big deal. And you'd be having it in hand at that point. So I do get that point of view. Yeah. And I understand it, but I guess this is what it takes. This is what it takes to get those things, isn't it? At times like these.
Yeah, if he's talking an O-ring one, I'm right there with him. I think that his tank has been released way too many times, and it's one of the sturdiest vehicles from the vintage line. So for an O-ring figure, you know, the Sky Striker has problems like the canopy being an issue. There's
smelling funny.
Oh, the canopy and Sky Striker, those things stink. They do. Like a box of vintage Sky Striker canopies is one of the weirdest, awful smells ever. But yeah, an O-ring his tank could not be. They could not do a HasLab for that. I just couldn't see it happening. Not whenever people were picking up O-ring scale his tanks on clearance. A year ago.
Yeah, like recently. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In terms of classified though as well, I'd still earn. That's what I maintain. Like you'd still be paying.
There need to be something else with it.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot with it, I think, to really kind of pull people in.
Or about.
Oh, that's a good shout. Diana says, I suspect a Mindbender's Lab HasLab is on the way. Maybe more a dream Mindbender HasLab lab. That's actually a pretty good shout and would be really cool to kind of link in with Mindbender, the rumored Serpentor with the fact that he's all over the box art. That would be pretty dope, actually, wouldn't it, Pat?
Yeah, that would be cool. I love the idea of just tubes for figures to be sitting around and like a lab of tubes. I think if they released that, though, I would want at least 2 per package, because I could see them just having like a nice Mindbender, like a re-release or a repaint or something of Mindbender with a Serpentor in a tube, and then I would want to buy multiple tubes to make a big playset rather than it being a HasLab. I don't know. Yeah, that's something very tempting. Like you said the other day, that'd be a great 4-inch thing to do for Super 7.
100%, and it's something when I spoke to Brian Flynn Clang of Super 7. You can check that interview out on our YouTube channel if you want, guys, after this, or right now if you're getting bored. And on that, he did suggest that. We talked about this thing of like expected thing. People expect certain things from Super 7, and we expect with Super 7 and G.I. Joe, Saturn's Band, Cold Slither, and things along those lines. And I think with these kind of quirky ideas we come up with, like a Mindbender's Lab, very similar to what we've seen in the Sunbow animation, how Serpentor's created. That's another expectation for me. I'd love to. I just expect Super 7 to do things like that. Now, in terms of like how it would kind of look in the classified series, I think that would be such a dope idea, like you said. But then using that aesthetic of that kind of Jekyll and Hyde aesthetic, and that kind of, when you look at the artwork that's on those boxes and all those kind of that funky kind of update or slightly different way of it looking, I think would be amazing. And I'd take that as a HasLab if it was big enough. And I'd also, like you say, I'd take that as like a smaller set that comes with another figure, like you said, like a repainted Mindbender.
Yeah.
That then is, something you could buy multiples of to create like a much bigger setup. I think that'd be so dope. Anyway, thank you, Diana, for that. Ryan Daly says, I want a classified shark with deep 6 who still only has 2 points of articulation. Yeah, Ryan. I think a classified Deep Six would be dope, man. Like that version of it would be insane, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I would have to get a bigger tub to sit in or something. I'd have to take it to a swimming pool that I, didn't have as a kid. I wasn't playing with Deep Six in a swimming pool. That was a take it to the bathtub toy for me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get one of those like infinity pools on the roof of your house. Yeah, like I mean, the Shark would be another. That is another iconic vehicle. It's also kind of like a good size for classified. Um, I think that one would be more likely to happen even than like the Vamp almost. I know I'm not saying it's more iconic. I'm just saying like I don't know. It's they're all really hard because they're all too big to be like comfortable retail things, aren't they? Like you're looking
Yeah.
at, like you said, maybe one a year if you're lucky for
Yeah,
something
I
like
think that
that.
they could probably release them a little more often, like maybe 8 months, and get them spaced out to feel like they're one a year, but they're really more often than that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that the size of it, even if we're talking, can this be at retail, or can it be, and I say retail, I mean retail, it doesn't need to be at brick and mortar at this point,
yeah.
be a retail release. So it doesn't need to take up shelf space. But can it be something that will sell through if they just make it, versus does it have to be a HasLab? But even that discussion aside, there's also just, how many of these things can they expect us to buy per year?
I know, like, yes, I just genuinely couldn't see it being more than one a year, genuinely. And
Well,
like
it all
you say,
depends on the price and the size.
if it's every 8 months, it's still quite that to me is a bit of a stretch. But even then, yeah, you're right. It does. There's a lot of factors and variables involved. Um, Matt O'Brien says, although the HIS tank would not be my first choice, probably makes the most sense due to the repaint standard V2 Arctic Septic Python Patrol. Lol. You don't have to lol at that, Matt. That is actually, yeah, it's the Cobra Commander of the Cobra vehicles, just as the Vamp is the Snake Eyes of GI Joe vehicles. Yeah, it would be a good shout. And then obviously, yeah, you've got all those repaint opportunities. It's funny how we're talking about HasLabs right now more than anything else, but there was and I'll try and get some more comments actually before we move on. Paul says, did I miss the part with the classified ferret speculation? No. The classified ferret speculation for me started with Duke and Vehicle. And now we know that that's Duke and the Tiger Force Tiger Ram, don't we? So just trying to work out what we know and what we don't know at the moment in my head. It's very dangerous waters
Yeah,
we're in.
I think that the fact that that's not a ferret with Duke makes me think that the ferret would be a long way off,
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
because they probably would have made it be the ferret if they were going to do a regular ferret.
Yeah. RKW1138 says classified snowcat with some snow serpents thrown in. That would be pretty cool. Although, I know what he's saying, but it's not like you'd have snow serpents with a snowcat. But anyway, I know what you're saying. Like, let's get some Arctic stuff. Let's get some Arctic. I mean, we know, what do we know? I can't even think what we know, Pat, what we can say and what we can't say. I'm not going to say anything just in case. No, I'm not going to say anything. My goodness, we are in dangerous waters, aren't we? Like I said, we are privy to certain information, guys. We can't kind of divulge a lot of stuff for obvious reasons. But yeah, I would be down for all of that. RKW11.
I think anything that is snow related needs to hit at the right time. Personally, I think that stuff hitting in winter, yeah, it's kind of important, and it would be almost weird to have that as a HasLab, because I would want my excitement for it and the time that it delivered to both be times while it's snowing.
So reveal it at Christmas and get it in hand next Christmas. Is what you're saying. Yeah, I like that. That's a good shout. Also, there's a famous Christmas Action Force cover with the snowcat plummeting off an icy edge. from the
Is
Action
it
Force
weird that I would
Monthly.
prefer the later Snow Serpents though, because they could get away with their rocket snowboards rather than their slow snowshoes running away from the snowcat.
Yeah, the both of those figures are dope, aren't they? Like, I love the first one is again such an iconic design, that snow serpent, that first one. But like the version 2, I don't think gets enough love, but they have such cool stuff with them. And you're right, that snowboard with the blooming rockets on it is incredible. Yeah, I remember buying that off the shelf in the United States of America as well. Love that figure. Um, Classified Deep 6, 46 Zone says Classified Deep 6 could be a deluxe figure where he's in the comic deco and can be inserted into the diving suit. That's a cool idea. Yeah, like the diving suit be a separate piece.
Yeah,
That would be really
for
cool.
sure.
Then
I've wanted something like that for so long. I just kind of feel like they could design, like the general design of that could fit with the general design of the snake armor. You know, that they could do almost like a reskin kind of thing and make both of them at the same time, and I would be happy with that.
Absolutely. Neil again says, would it be out of line to suggest new characters in Classified or O-Ring, either from recent media or made up? New blood would be nice. Well, I think Pat and I have made our thoughts very clear on O-Ring. How both would love new characters to be introduced into the O-Ring line. Isn't that right, Pat?
Yeah, and the way that they've done it so far is exactly as I would love for it to be done. I would still like to see those, well, what do they call them? Pit crew or whatever they said. It's the deck crew that is for the USS Flag is really what they were.
Yeah.
I'd still love to see those, but those were a previous idea that didn't end up happening. So all the stuff that came through there, aside from, you know, putting Night Force on Ripcord, were all existing ideas. And yeah, a Night Force Ripcord is also fun. So, well, I guess Pilot Scarlet's Pilot Scarlet existed. So yeah, all that stuff. I'm excited for all those O-Ring things. All of it.
Same Z's. Super Saiyan Bieber says, can you ask Lenny if they will make modern figures or just vintage style? I can next time I speak to him, Super Saiyan Bebo, in terms of like an interview. We'll talk about the design and all that kind of stuff. We do kind of get into that quite a lot when we talk anyway. So that's something we can definitely kind of like, you know, ask them about. I'm not obviously going to ask him to make modern figures, but I can ask him the reasons behind it. I'm not going to ask him to do anything on my behalf or others' behalves. I wouldn't do that, but I can definitely ask him about that particular decision and thought process. Excuse me. Jeremy says, what if not Hasbro, but Pulse fan channel exclusive for some of the vehicles like a Vamp or Hiss? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what Pat and I were getting at in terms of when we say retail, we don't necessarily just mean like brick and mortar, as Pat suggested. We do mean like online channels, whether that be an exclusive to like Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth, or like you say, a Pulse fan channel exclusive, SDCC, all those options are kind of what we mean. We just mean not HasLab, don't we, Pat?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's kind of opened a door, because in the past, if we were talking about this, we would look at it and go, you know what? Walmart and Target aren't going to want that sitting on the shelf, so it's just not going to happen. But at this point, I think that you could make something that's larger, and there's going to be a place where it will ship. You know, Amazon would take them.
Yeah. A Punk with Toys says a Reaction Deep 6 would be the first figure Super 7 actually adds articulation to. You say that, I would laugh if they gave him 1 point of articulation on the head. Just made the head twist and just made it a solid block of plastic. I think that would be the biggest troll of human history, and I would be there for it.
That actually would be really cool, a Reaction Deep 6. I never thought about that, because then his legs would be moving.
Or would they? As I've just
suggested. I think they would. I think they would.
Jamie, hi Jamie. Mattel is doing this now with He-Man at very good prices. They have several vehicles for about $40. Why can't Hasbro do this? Well, there's a lot to unpack here, isn't there? I guess. I don't know the sales numbers, but He-Man is would you say Master of the Universe is bigger than G.I. Joe?
No, I would never say that. That's an awful thing to say. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm asking you the question. Like, what do you think is a bigger?
I actually don't think so. I think that Masters of the Universe fans were starved for product for longer than G.I. Joe fans.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of been one of the things that's been weird. I would actually say G.I. Joe's more successful than He-Man, just because of the fact that it has been at retail more consistently.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, both of them kind of came back to retail in that early 2002, and I really think that Mattel mishandled the pack outs of the waves, which really was what kind of drove that line to end. I really think that that was the case. Maybe I'm wrong, but all I ever saw were pigs full of Skeletor and He-Man, and I never saw a Mechanic once. I saw like an Orko once. Most of the characters I would see once, other than the two of them. Anyway, yeah, I do see what you're saying though, because the Masters of the Universe Origins stuff is roughly, you know, the same size as a classified figure, and they do have those. Like if you look at Stridor or whatever vehicles they may have. I know that I was just looking at a bunch of them in Target the other day. So yeah, I mean, they should be able to do something, but I don't know how many features those come with and how many colors they needed to be. I mean, a lot of this stuff is designs that are based on toys that had already been put to retail at a low cost back when they were originally released. So hopefully they would be able to do it. I don't know. At this point, if I'm going to get a 6-inch vamp, I would like it to be really high quality.
Yeah, I know what you're saying on that, and I would say that the reason like is simple. It's budgetary reason. It's cost reasons for the reason why Hasbro aren't doing it. That's because there's a tighter budget on classified and G.I. Joe as a brand anyway. But that's not to say like that doesn't. Just because that budget is there doesn't mean that they can't do it. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's probably a bit of a balancing act going on with the classified series because of the quality they put into everything, and I think that is almost like a, you know, they put so much quality into each kind of figure and each, you know, release that it does raise the levels for bigger things coming afterwards. And they have almost kind of probably painted themselves into a bit of a corner, possibly. But that's just that really is just speculation, really. It could be any reason. There could be any sort of monetary reasons behind it. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see vehicles. I definitely would. I'm just going to move the image so we can just see Lenny and Emily there. I don't know why I was just getting bored of sitting on the same image the entire time. Ray Murphy, Ray, good to have you on the watching, bud. I'm going to be shouting you out in a little while. A shipwreck with a devilfish could be a doable classified retail release. That would be great, wouldn't it? Shipwreck with a devilfish would be wicked.
Yeah, well, they said right. We kind of flipped past the picture that you were tired of looking at and really didn't talk too much about.
Here we are.
Okay, here it is. Shipwreck and rock and roll. Yeah, I don't know if I would want shipwreck with the devilfish if we're also getting shipwreck individually, but Shipwreck's a tough one because this obviously is the classic Shipwreck and the kind of design that I'm expecting to get. But there's also like the sweater cap Shipwreck that at this point is a very, you know, very celebrated version of that character.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't mind seeing that as well.
Bar 5 says classified devilfish with a wetsuit. There you go. He's taken your shipwreck and he's raised you a wetsuit.
I think I'd rather have wetsuit with the devilfish.
David Allen says, "Hey David, at this point I think the Shark and Ore Striker have had more releases than the Vamp. It's not the Vamp I'm talking about though. It's the fact that it's the reuse of that particular body construction. Like the Stinger isn't a Vamp. The Dreadnought Ground Assault isn't a Vamp, but do you know what I mean? Like it's the use of it. The Ore Striker has just been the Ore Striker and the Foe Striker. What would I say? The Shark has only been the Wave Crusher. Am I right, Pat? And the Sky Shark.
Well, the Osh Striker was also the Eco Striker.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I take it back.
The Shark has been the Cobra Wave Crusher and
the Sky Shark, right?
The Sky Shark, yeah. I think
So
that's it.
yeah, so like
And
if
since we did that video on the Vamp, there's been like 5 or 6 Fun School ones.
yes, I know. Yeah, well, thingy, didn't someone post that in the group the other day? And I was kind of like, where were these when we were doing our massive thing? But yeah, it's crazy how many they just appear from.
What rock and roll do you think that we're going to get?
Well, as the screen suggests, I'm just assuming version 1 because as much as my rock and roll, I have to say is version 2. I just see him as the iconic looking, very like it's just so dope. Like the hat's really cool, the deco's gorgeous, the weapons he comes with are insane. The artwork, by the way, on that card back for the vintage version 2 is beautiful. Like it's just incredible. And yeah, those 2 ridiculous like hand cannons with the bullet belts going into the backpack, the Winchester rifle on his thigh. Just there's so much more going on visually, and it's not like, you know how like, you know, you might get some updates of characters like in the later years of Joe, and the designs are a little bit wacky, or they've gone a little bit too far to kind of like over design something. They've gone from like rock and roll, which is a very simple design, very, you know, kind of like just, you know, it's green, bullet belts, helmet, yellow, blonde beard. You know, like it's simplistic, but it's effective. The version 2 just adds so much more to it for me. And it's not like, oh, they've given him like giraffe pants, or they've given him like, it's not like that. It's like the camo's dope on the pants. The sculpt is gorgeous. The accessories and the weapons are really cool. The rather than the helmet, giving him the hat with the bullets around it is really just, there's so much about it that I think just personifies rock and roll in more ways than the original does.
Yeah, it's almost like in 1989 they'd found the perfect way to update characters from 1982 in a way that would just never be surpassed, say a year or 2 later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you missed what I was going for there.
You know, I got it. I was sorry. I was multitasking with the comments.
No, I agree. I think that we probably will get 1982 rock and roll updated, but I kind of wonder if maybe they might pull in some of those elements from that later rock and roll in order to make it easy to make it be both of them.
Yeah.
I would love to see that happen. Like have him come with either the helmet or the hat, and then maybe add in some of the camo, like maybe make it look like this one. But there were those trading cards that Hasbro passed out at conventions that did have like the version 1 art redone in that version 2 rock and roll style, like in those colors. So that would be kind of neat to see. Or to see them do both. They could release this figure and then do a re-deco that looked more like the later one.
Yeah, totally. But I think I just assume they're going to go with version 1, but only because they're doing version 1s, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing, they're kind of doing that kind of like vintage aesthetic. You know, we've got Breaker, Snake Eyes, Stalker, Roadblock. I just assume that we're probably going to get rock and roll to kind of tie in with that OG kind of
I just
vibe.
hope that they do rock and roll in a way that leaves the door open for a rock and roll version 2.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it'd have to be like a proper full-on redo, like a complete from the ground up kind of redesign. But we'll see, I guess, if they ever do that.
Yeah.
Ritz Murphy's made an interesting comment here. Off topic, last night, What's on Joe Mind leaked a Transformer Autobot crossover was coming this month. That's cool. So we can add that to the possible list of things we might see on Wednesday, which is awesome. By the way,
I didn't see their stream.
I didn't get to see that either. Ritz, by the way, we actually do know what it is, but we can't say anything. So yeah, that's all I'm saying on that. Moving on. What else have we got? Diana Davis says snow serpents are refreshing in summer like ice cream. Well, are you going to lick them though? Pat might. Are you going to lick your snow serpents, Pat?
No. It does make me, for some reason, my brain went to snow cones instead of ice cream.
Yeah, kind of, you have to like mince them into ice bits. But that'd be gross, actually. I don't want to do that. Matt O'Brien says, I love Pat's idea of every 8 months. That would give us 3 small to mid-sized vehicles every 2 years. I don't think the size of the vehicles matters as much if they are sold through Pulse.
Yeah.
Matt says, perfect moments to say, sign up for Patreon, guys, for behind-the-scenes info. Thank you, Matt. Neil says, so you two do have privileged info. I've often wondered about that. I've said it before, Neil. I said it before that I can't say things. I have to keep them to myself. But yeah, there are certain things we are privy to a degree. We were not privy to shipwreck and rock and roll information, by the way. That was amazing. That was like a proper wow kind of moment. What else we got? Yeah. I'm being told to ask Hasbro if there's any chance to include decals for the Sky Striker for Scarlet, like her name to put by the cockpit and maybe a tail fin design for her. Maybe that's something they've already considered, because that's something that they've done in the past, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, and that was something that I think that I talked about on a previous stream, that I was hoping that the names would not be permanently on there, so that Ace's name would match his original file card name, which was not what was shown on the cockpit of the Sky Striker. Like, yeah. I think they had J. Brad Armbruster instead of Brad J. Armbruster.
Yeah, so, I believe that is the case. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get Scarlet's name on that. Would be wicked. What else have we got going on here? Yeah, because obviously, yeah. What was it? Was it one of the releases? They had just a ton of sticker sheets, and it was like, you know, you could have all these different kind of combinations. So I think they'll probably do that anyway, genuinely.
Yeah, yeah. There was the 25th one, or even the 50th. I think that there was a couple of them that had just a ton of sticker sheets.
Yeah. Neil Hill has asked, Chris, I know Pat is going to Joe Fest, but are you going? I'm not, unfortunately, but yeah, Pat will be there, so he'll get all the plaudits for the show, and he can do all the signings.
Right.
Tags Media TV says sales and production Motu is killing it. Yeah, so they're probably doing really well at the moment.
I picked up a few of them, and I don't really collect Masters Universe, so that's an indication to me, anyway.
Absolutely,
that they are doing a really nice job.
They look like they're doing a great job, and they've got so many different fronts at the moment. So many like different media, different kind of cartoons. I've enjoyed everything I've watched of it so far. It just seems to be like, yeah, a really good kind of place for Motu at the moment. Then Gone says, so when are we going to get Ripcord or Sergeant Airborne or Freefall or Crazy Legs? Come on, or a parachute pack? Are there plans to make accessory packs? That would be really dope, actually. Any of those characters would be really cool. And I think we'll probably see them at some point very soon. You're just talking about such a vast, like, roster of characters, aren't you? That's the problem. You're covering such a vast roster of characters that you're never, ever going to get every single one that you want all the time. Why, you know, I'm not here going, we need Lightfoot Night Force. I mean, I am. But at the same time, I know it's probably not going to happen in the near future. It would be bloody great if it did. But at the same time, people don't know Lightfoot like we know Lightfoot. I say we as in, you know, the collective that are watching this show right now. So it's probably not a viable option necessarily for Hasbro to go with right at this moment. Maybe like in a few years' time, I could see it happening, or maybe dropped in with a group of very well-known characters.
I think, though, that for the tradition of JoeCon, having it open with a parachute drop, it just kind of feels like they do need to work a parachute into this line sooner rather than later. I think that a parachute is something that shouldn't be difficult to fit into a package, since it should pack tightly anyway.
Well, they've done it with the HasLab Sky Striker already, haven't they? So
that's true. That's true. I would just like a really nice fabric parachute, because I think back to all those old parachutes, and still one of the best toy parachutes is from the Fisher-Price Adventure People toy line. That thing was amazing. And something like that for classified that would function really well. I think the weight of a classified figure would probably open a parachute, like a larger parachute, very nicely.
Yeah, big time. This is a good comment thank you for the comment, Dagon. Ryan Sweeney has made a very good comment here. Mattel is putting more money behind He-Man, and they also have entertainment. I think that's the big thing here that I really forgot to say, and forgot, just left my mind. I still think Joe doesn't have the budget that other lines have. And I think you're right there, Ryan. Do you think that is the case, genuinely? Right. I'm not going to be able to get to everyone's comments, but I'll try and get a few more in. Neil Hill says, I would love to know what Chris and Pat know about what's coming up for Yojo June. I would pay money to know that. Well, you can, technically. Yeah, just check our Patreon out. SAS and Red Shadow Army levels. We do Intel episodes, and we drop little nuggets that we can actually divulge.
I just don't want to spoil anything that we may be aware of just for everybody. You know,
yeah,
Yojo June is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, we cannot mention it in certain scenarios, and it is very top secret. So, yeah, just so you know. Oh, this is a good one from Ritz. I would love to see both Shipwreck and Rock and Roll on all new design with nods to the vintage versions. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the level that I was kind of expecting Classified to go in, honestly. I just assumed Classified was going to be this kind of like updated, characters completely updated with then little nods to the vintage. It's kind of gone a complete different direction. I'm not that bothered though, because I get these figures in hand and I'm still blown away. Like this Crocmaster, for example, just to rub it in, is gorgeous. And effectively, it's a bigger version of the vintage one. But obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. The deco's improved, the texture and the detail is incredible. But, in terms of the design, very, very close to the original.
Yeah, I think that we kind of agree, though, that it would be nice to see where the Classified line would have gone if they hadn't gone so classic.
Yeah.
But like I've said before, I like getting a classic version and an updated version. And who knows if they are able to, how often they will be able to do that with your second and third and Lightfoot tier characters.
How dare you? How dare you put Lightfoot at below third tier? Matt O'Brien says, with us possibly getting a version 1 Rock and Roll, we are a step closer to the full OG 13, yet one step closer. Still about 10 of them to go, or 9. I don't know how many we've got so far. RKW1138, since Breaker came with the Ram cycle, I feel Rock and Roll has to come with something to make it more interesting. Hint, Whirlwind. That would be pretty dope, actually. Yeah, I'd love that. Diana says, so can we hope for some articulation on Polly and maybe a voice chip? Not a clue. I don't know. I think voice chip might be a stretch. Articulation probably wouldn't be a stretch. But the fact that she is smaller than Freedom by design, I did joke the other day on the Newsburst Live saying that it'd be funny if they just repainted Freedom and gave Freedom a different head and just painted it green. How funny that would be. I would genuinely laugh, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I think she's going to be smaller, and therefore I don't know what the articulation is going to be. If they're just going to do I don't know. What do you think, Pat?
I think I'd kind of be a little disappointed if there was no articulation.
Yeah, same.
I think some wings that can flap, that can look like Polly, that she's flapping through the air a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Spread wings, absolutely.
Yeah.
A Punk with Toys, give us classic Rock and Roll with his M60, but also a saw machine gun to make him more modern if we like. Yeah, I wonder because obviously Rock and Roll doesn't come with a great amount of stuff, does he? The original, but they're clearly going to give him a few things. I imagine the bullet belts will be secondaries if they do this.
Kind of why I was thinking that maybe they could do something that would be a little bit between the two of them. You could give him his version 1 accessory, and maybe not his version 2 guns, but maybe the Hall of Fame version that was very similar, something like that. And the Hall of Fame figure really isn't all that far from being, if you just kind of picture that as a repaint. I think that they can get an in-between. I still think they can get somewhere in between version 1 and version 2.
Yeah, that would be cool, actually. Bryn Anderson, what are you hiding? The next HasLab is a flag with a Terradrone pull behind, isn't it? Yes, that's exactly right, Bryn. You've unlocked the code. Matt O'Brien says, truth of the matter is, I bet we will eventually get both versions of each of those two figures. You're probably very correct. I would actually like to see well, if they're doing Shipwreck, which they are, because they've said, I would like to see them do Tiger Force Shipwreck. How cool would that be?
Yeah, for sure.
Marujo.
I would think that would be one of the good reasons to get a Shipwreck out sooner rather than later, is that they could do a Tiger Force version.
Viper Scout said the 25th Sky Striker had enough stickers for 3 Sky Strikers. It did, literally. It absolutely did. Neil Hill says Bumblebee Transformer crossover makes the most sense. I guess. Bumblebee Vamp, that is, he says. Okay. I like what you're saying. I like what you're peddling. Tunnel Rat, says Romeo. Just says Tunnel Rat. I'm guessing just a character you want in Classified, because yes, I would also love Tunnel Rat in the Classified series.
You kind of fit that with that goal of getting some figures out before they are needed for other things. You've got a original Tiger Force, Night Force, and Sonic Fighter. Tunnel Rats would all be nice. So yes, Tunnel Rat sooner rather than later.
Yes, please. James Howlett says 2 85-pound miniguns on each arm is best rock and roll, obviously. Yes. Neil Hill apologizes. He must have missed us saying we know stuff. I've said it on like Newsburst lives and stuff like that, Neil, in the past. Just like to explain that we are privy to certain information because of the relationships we have cultivated over the years. That's just how it happens when you're in this line of I would say work. Brilliant. What else we got? Matt O'Brien says, when I think of classified parachutes, I get excited for Ripcord. Parachute could be used for different characters as well. Yes, and of course, then it just opens the door for Sky Patrol then. Spirit was a perfect update, honored vintage, but brought into modern time. Yeah, he's the one that they haven't tried to mimic exactly for obvious reasons. A lot of people wanting Ripcord. Matt O'Brien said, did Emma Lenny say they were going to reveal 2 2023 Joe Cobra names each week? They didn't say how many, I don't think. They just said they would be revealing more, and they would be making it, they'd be doing that. Every time you see them, they'll reveal more. You never know. They could reveal more than 2.
Yeah, and I kind of like hearing things that way, knowing what is going into development straight from Hasbro is just nice. It's a long way off too, because we'll be waiting on these things forever. And now that we see these as the speculation of design, we're probably going to be talking about those regularly across the next 2 years. Also, when you say each week for the month of June, just to clarify, not every week for the rest of time. Romeo says we need a cover girl and Jinx. Absolutely. Neil says, gotcha, Chris. Paywall for the win. Yeah, and also, a bit secrecy. Thank you very much. I hope Rock and Roll gets some shaggy hair, says Brian Greenwood. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Maybe some different options there would be nice. Play into his surfer personality. Yeah.
Road Pig John, I think these 2 figures will be done like Flint and Lady J, using the full body molds as well, I imagine, yeah? They'll paint Flint's shirt blue, his pants blue, and then Lady J will be Rock and Roll with a different head sculpt. Same body. That would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? I'd be into that. Yeah, I could see them. I mean, do you mean what I think what you mean, Road Big John, is that slight updates to what they're known for? And I think you're probably right there. They're probably not going to go full on vintage necessarily. Road Big John, yeah, Super 7 will make the ultimate versions cartoon accurate, definitely. Okay. I think, sorry, I'm not going to get to everyone. There's so many comments. I appreciate this, guys. Thank you so much for all these comments. We really appreciate it. We loved all the interaction, but we're going to have to move on because we are well over time, Pat. Of course, we did we did expect that was going to happen. But let's move on then. Let's get into shout outs. But before we do so, here's a little chat from me about Hoarder.
Hey there guys, just wanted to let you know about an app that I've been helping to develop for a few years now called Hoarder. But what is Hoarder, I hear you scream? Well, a number of years ago I discussed a project with a good friend of mine and now co-owner/developer about an app that could help collectors of all shapes and sizes. I'm talking about the shapes and sizes of the collections really, but also people. The app would be a place where you could share your new items, build collections and sub-collections, or just browse the feed to see cool things. Well, we made it. We tested it for a number of years, and now it's out there for you to enjoy on iOS or Android devices. You can upload a single item at a time at your own pace and slowly build your collections. You can post status updates that could be related to your collections, like getting a delivery or posting a scene in which you can tag items in that image if you've uploaded them in the past. You can add tags to your items in order to easily search for and find them, and of course to add them into your respective collections. You can like posts, comment on them, or start a conversation with a fellow collector, directly message users you follow, and even add items you see on your feed to your want list. If you prefer to use your computer or laptop, have no fear, you can use the website browser version and even utilise the awesome inventory option, allowing any user to change certain details, add notes, upload bulk items from spreadsheet files, and download a CSV of your entire itemised collection. We made this app for collectors, and we hope that you enjoy using it as much as we enjoyed creating it. Now get to hoarding. Okay, we are down to shout outs, and Pat, you're going first with the shout outs. And that is, first up,
Philip, as always.
Good timing, that one.
Yeah, we're going to probably need eventually to have a different picture of Philip.
No, I'm going to keep the same one. It's just easier.
Just easier. Photoshop something else into his hand.
That's more work, actually. Yeah, as soon as I see another picture I'll just throw that up there, definitely. Yeah, maybe next week we'll give you a new picture. I don't think are you on next week, Pat?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, you are, aren't you? It's the week after that, isn't it? Sorry, I forget where we are in terms of the month.
You mean whenever I'm leaving for
J-Fest?
That's 3 weeks from now.
Wow. Why? What day do I think it is? Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good then. That means that you're going to be on and we can see a new picture of Phil on the next episode. So that's good. And
not that I'm telling you to change the picture. You can put up whatever you like.
Yeah, I can do what the heck I want, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What else have you got going on, buddy?
Well, Kickstarters right now, CALLSIGN LONGBOW. I'm excited about that, and I think that we are somewhere near the unlock of the Marauder figure in there with the stretch goals. So I'm hoping to see that figure, but I'm also hoping to see the one after it, which is what the tracksuit henchman, and really hoping to get to that ninja, the $229,000 stretch goal, which I think is actually very realistic.
Yeah. Considering
the fact that Kickstarters do generally have a big boost right on the last day. So there's still some time left. Let's see. As of right now, what do we have? 7 days. So there's 1 week left on this. So I will be kind of, when we go live next time, excited about seeing where that is from now. But also, in addition to that, After Action Report with Roger and Josh. So that one's already funded, and there's still plenty of time to go in order to get in on getting the second book from them that is a guide to comics. Those guys just know so much about G.I. Joe comics that I could not possibly have them put out a book and not get it for myself, because I spend a ton of time trying to learn about G.I. Joe online, and there's only so much that can be packed in one place. And have everything presented as a book just spoon feeding me information is very nice. And shout out to Roger too, who has run into some health issues that he announced on the Facebook. And I really hope that he gets well soon. He does look like, it sounds like from what he describes, that he's doing better. But yeah, he's run into a rough patch. So shout out to Roger for sure.
Yeah, get well soon, Roger. That sucks, man. While we are here, we're just getting a lot of comments coming through. I just wanted to put a few up on here because I like this. Bryn Anderson, I've dabbled with Hoarder and I'm liking it. I need time to add more of my collections. Thank you, Bryn. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Diana says, I'm going to hoarder my bonsai trees. Amazing. Do it. Why not? If you collect them, go for it. Tags Media, then you can see my collection. So he's going to get in there as well. So thank you very much, guys, for that. Yeah, get involved, get on there, start adding them on there. It'd be amazing. Viper Scout says, hey, that guy was on What's on Joe Mine yesterday in response to Phil. And apparently you got a shout out, Pat. So you weren't even watching, but you got a shout out.
Yeah, I was at work, so I've not had the opportunity yet to watch that. It's these recordings are work Friday night, work Saturday morning, so I won't have the opportunity to see that for some time.
Which is a shame. Philippe has asked, any info on the 3D Joe's vintage inspired project Rotello? Nothing new at this stage. There will be, if there are updates, obviously check Carson's socials for that one. 3D Joe's on Facebook and on Instagram, I believe, and just everywhere that 3D Joe's operates in, and obviously the website. But yeah, if you're in on any of his kind of like books or anything, if you've got in on the book, you'll probably get an email about it at some point as well. So yeah. Okay. Right. So is that all your shout outs for this week, Pat?
Yes, I'm glad that Rotello and 3D Joe's and Carson ended up getting kind of a shout out there, because I probably should have thought to do that myself. But yeah, that does it for me.
Cool. All right then. Well, I'll get into mine then. Big shout out to all my family on both continents. In both places, the UK and the US. Love to everybody, the whole family, and my wife, lovely wife Kate, and Phoebe, who's knocking around somewhere. Don't know where, she's probably in the bedroom. And also to Mom and Dad in the UK. I believe you were watching. I'm not sure if you are anymore. Mom usually gives us a couple of kisses and then probably just pieces out because she's like, I can't be listening to this crap all day. Love you guys anyway, and can't wait to speak to you very soon. Also to Brian Sauer for the amazing graphics every single week that he does for us. Does a great job for us. Thank you very much, Brian, including the monthly graphics you did for us last week as well, which we had to do at the last minute, which was still was a great episode. I really enjoyed doing that with all of our talk about, vehicles that can kill you. If you're the driver, that is. So yeah, thank you to Brian for all the work you've been doing. We're actually working on some lovely summer graphics next. Have a guess if you want to guess at what those graphics might represent. You might be able to guess actually, but when Brian told me this was his plan for the summer graphics, I nearly exploded. I'm not going to say anything. You'll just have to wait and see. But you can guess if you want to guess. As well as that, Diana Davis, who's been in the comments, obviously has been watching us today. Thank you so much, one, for this issue 3 of Saturday Morning Adventures retailer incentive cover from Will Munio. It's absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, the Average Joe band on there, or the Action Force band, as it was on the VHS that I watched as a nipper. And also, not just this beautiful retailer incentive comic. And I love Saturday Morning Adventures, by the way. It's fantastic. But also, you might be able to see on there a tiny little dressing gown. A little Profit Director Destro dressing gown for classified 6-inch. Now, I believe he said it was it Rogelio Casas, does it? I believe that was the name.
I was kind of expecting, that he would be that he would have been who did this. He's kind of like the G.I. Joe community expert at making
like soft goods accessories. Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's got a little sparkly belt as well with a little bit of Velcro on it. It's just amazing. Love this, and this kind of like that kind of maroon suede. Like
you need to get it on your Profit Director Destro though.
I do, but I thought it was funny that a bat was wearing it, and obviously it's a Python bat, so it kind of the colors were just lovely. I just thought it was funny. I will put it on Destro. I mean, he's right there. I could do it, but I just thought, it's funnier that the bat's wearing it. But anyway, thank you so much, Diana, for those out of the blue. Very nice. I do accept gifts, so if people want to send them to me, my address. No, I'm just kidding. No, really appreciate that, Diana. It was lovely of you to do so. So there's your shout out. Thank you so much. Sorry, I've got more shout outs, but I want to make sure. Oh yeah, the next shout out's an absolute beauty, and I think Pat's going to love this one too. Ray Murphy, who made an appearance in our comments a little while ago, knocked this beauty up.
Oh yeah,
isn't this gorgeous. A classified scale Colonel Paul Corbin crowbar from Starcom. Isn't this glorious, Pat?
It is. I love some Starcom. It's one of my all-time favorite toy lines for so many reasons.
In it. It's just amazing. Obviously, Pat and I share a love for Starcom, and we've talked about it on the show in massive detail. If you ever want to go back to one of our old audio episodes, you can check us out on our Podbean site. And yeah, we did a Starcom episode way back in the day, didn't we, Pat? And it went on 4 hours, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah. I'm not sure what helmet that is that he used. What is that?
I have not a clue. Not a clue.
Okay.
Ray is an absolute mad genius when it comes to customizing. So, but I just think it looks fantastic at that scale as well. And like the Duke head, I think he's used for Crowbar's head. And obviously, like again, we've got some nice shots here of the kind of awesome little backpack he's using Barbecue's backpack as well. Pieces of that piece of Barbecue's backpack to go on there as well, which is awesome.
Maybe it looks like maybe a Rebel backpack. Is that some
I think it is.
Rebel Hoth Trooper backpack?
I think it is, I think
together.
It's a good shout.
Yeah. It does make sense though, because those like the pressurized canister kind of look is what the Paul Corbin had originally. So, and everybody that was on his team, because he was kind of the leader of the Astra Marines. That's what I was looking for. The Astra Marines. It's the Astra Marines backpack. I
love this, Ray. Thank you so much, mate. And also, don't worry, we'll shout it out if it's amazing.
You really got the colors nice on this too, and the tampos, or I guess the water slides, I should say. They look good.
Ray says a Buzz Lightyear helmet and a Hoth Trooper backpack.
Nice.
I
couldn't identify the Buzz Lightyear helmet. It looks perfect.
Yeah, and Paddy's on as well. Hello, Paddy. Ray's Custom uses classified Duke and barbecue parts with a Buzz Lightyear helmet. Thank you, Paddy, for also telling us what Ray is also telling us at the exact same time. And some classified bat parts, apparently. That's awesome. Yeah, incredible stuff, Ray. Really appreciate it. Obviously, we're all big fans of your work, as is Paddy, who is not on the show at the moment. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. Really, really loved this. Diana says with Magnalock, but I think you were referring to the that, aren't you? Yes. In fact, that'd be really cool if you did put some sort of Magnalock in it as well. That'd be fantastic. And Paddy also says, "Get on it, Hasbro. Starcom relaunch. You own the rights. Get on it, Hasbro. We need it to happen." Doug Dello has said, "So my cellular service held out for the entire drive. Great show today, guys. Thank you very much, Doug. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So thank you, Ray. Absolutely beautiful, wonderful piece of work you've done there, and we're both obviously big fans of Starcom. And yeah, this is just perfect. So great stuff. Pat, you're probably the biggest Starcom fan on earth, though, aren't you?
Well, there's a really great Starcom Facebook group that I love talking to those guys, because it's, for the longest time, Starcom was a Yahoo group that I was moderating from, it lasted. It was like one of the longest lasting ones, because it lasted from
the Cretaceous period
down like a year or two ago. But it's from, the late 90s that we started that with. The website existed on like Nemesis World for a long time, and then he retired and went like on a trip. And I said, okay, I will watch over the site and keep it online. And there's a StarcomHQ.com. I keep it online, but I can't say that I maintain it. It's awful. I would love to get back to doing that, but G.I. Joe takes up so much of my time.
Yeah,
that it's been impossible. And I'm not a website designer. I don't do that.
Yeah,
I've added things to websites, obviously with Yojo and other places, but I've never ground up designed something, and Starcom HQ desperately needs that. But yeah, I love Starcom. I have almost everything Starcom. I don't have some of the boxed European stuff.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Yeah,
because we got lucky in Europe. We got a bunch of kind of like exclusive stuff that you guys didn't get.
Yeah, and I have really all of that, except for the fact that there was the Star Max bomber and the Shadow Bat were reboxed, as gift sets and released in the UK with exclusive stickers. So I needed those, and I finally found the Star Max Bomber, and Customs decided to just take a knife and cut right into the front of the box, and they completely destroyed it before I received it, and it was not cheap. I'm still a little upset about that. It was my first opportunity to buy one, not just like the first one that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
So it was rough.
Mate, I'm so sorry
Got
about that.
pieces of that last year in the mail.
I feel angry on your behalf.
Yeah.
Matthew Matson
He doesn't
says,
flip something open from the side. It's animals.
yeah, exactly. I love Starcom, Sky Commandos, Air Raiders, so many small figure lines. I mean, yeah, I kind of love, Mask, Dino Riders, Starcom, all of those kind of things. There's something very like collectible, isn't there, about the little figures that I've always enjoyed. And yeah, Starcom's definitely got that vibe about it. Brilliant stuff. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the show. But before we do leave, we do have one bit of sad news to discuss, or to kind of talk about. And unfortunately, that is the horrible news that Ken Kelly, the legendary artist, known for very famous for his work on amazing iconic album covers, not to mention Micronauts, box art, and also very recently, Skeletron's RoboSkull Mark II Kickstarter campaign. He's been doing a lot of card backs and stuff for those guys as well. Absolutely terrible, terrible news that he's passed away at the age of 76. Our thoughts obviously go out to his family at this awful time. Rest in peace, Ken. You will be sorely missed, my good man. This obviously only popped up for me, I only knew about this morning when I saw Ben's post on the Skeletron page, and it kind of knocked me back a little bit because, for one, I'm just extremely grateful that Ken, Ian Kennedy as well, who recently passed away, they've both been able to work on, on the Skeletron stuff before they passed away. But at the same time, it's just like, I'd rather have them here, and they didn't. Honestly, I'd rather they were still here and hadn't worked on the Skeletron stuff. It's just really, really sad, and yeah, just horrible news. I take it you heard about this morning, Pat.
I heard about it last night.
Yeah.
Shane Turgeon, longtime GI Joe collector. I've known him for a while, and he runs a show in Canada, and apparently Ken Kelly had been there. And had done like some work for them as well. And he showed that art, and it was just like, I can't believe, I just couldn't believe it. It's one of those things that, I'd not seen a lot of work from him for a while. So I was so shocked whenever Ben told me that, because it was like the night before the reveal was going to go up online, that Ken Kelly was working on Skeletron, and Ben had mentioned, he got Ken Kelly, and my mind was just blown because he had done such influential work with the Micronauts toy line, and now it was just such a perfect fit. And like, his art was just so good. I loved, from his album art to anything that he puts out, the lighting in the picture, and just the way that his work was. We're all at a loss, but at the same time, I'm so glad that we were almost gifted that one last thing with all this RoboSkull art that he's put out there. So
I know it's all so incredible as well. Yeah, I love that kind of fantasy style. That just it's just so cool.
Yeah.
And like, he was a protege of Frazetta, wasn't he? And like, you can tell that the kind of inspiration that he had on him as well. But just the still so unique and such a incredible artist. Yeah, absolutely will be. Just it's the earth is a lesser place without you on it, Ken. So
for sure.
Yeah, thank you for all the great stuff you've done, though. And like I said before, rest in peace. Our thoughts go out to his family at this difficult time. Very, very awful scenario. But anyway, obviously, we needed to talk about that on the show today. I left it to the end to obviously leave us really depressed at the end as well. But in any case, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Weekly. Pat, thank you, mate, for jumping on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thanks as always. It's always fun.
Is it though? Is it really always fun?
It is. It is fun. It's nice to be on. I love getting on here, and now that we do them live, getting to see everybody's kind of feedback and hearing what people think in real time is definitely fun.
That I must admit, that's one of the things I really do enjoy about it. I love having, people come in and chat and throw questions in and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, I couldn't get to everyone's, guys. I wish you could see the process I have to go through with it. It is one of those things. We just need an admin. We need someone to we need another 3 employees to do background stuff while Pat and I can just be the on-screen talent. Sorry, just a thought using the T word. It's amazing, isn't it? Anyway, guys, thanks again for jumping on. Brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for watching the Full Force Weekly. Massive thank you to my awesome co-host, Patrick Notpicard Stewart. You know what we have to do at the end of all these episodes?
Yeah, Matt O'Brien seems to be ahead of us.
A few people are ahead of us, yes. So after 3, you know what to do? 1, 2, 3.
Full force.
And a happy Yojo June.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.